And then we got to the late game last night.
Ooh, there was
and by
one
the way,
man out there. There's a lot of kids in one man.
and his name is Michael Penix Jr. And for those of you who don't know his story and only know what he's done at Washington the last 2 years, that's a kid who started at Indiana. That is a kid who has had significant injury issues. We're talking about 2 torn up knees.
Yes.
And he came back from all of that to have what genuinely I think has to be called, considering the magnitude of the game, one of the best games any college quarterback has ever played.
No doubt.
430 yards, 76% completion, and they needed every drop of it to win that game and keep their perfect season alive and advance to the national championship. Neek, I mean, what did you see from this quarterback last night?
It wasn't just the numbers, although those are gaudy with 2 touchdowns. It was watching the way that he was throwing the ball. They were NFL-level throws, not just any NFL-level throws. They were high-level NFL throws. It was reminiscent of Aaron Rodgers hitting the seam on that touchdown pass where he steps up and drills it in there in a tight window between 3 guys to his player. The deep balls are dropping in almost every time. The receiver wouldn't change stride. He didn't have to speed up. He didn't have to slow down. It was just masterful. And to take into account how great he was in managing the pocket, Himbo pointed this out to me before the show this morning, is that he's only been sacked 10 times all year and still manages to have big plays in the course of the game. That's respect for the line, but I think as we all have come to appreciate, sacks is a quarterback sack.
Ain't no doubt.
It's about making decisions.
That's right.
And it's about being comfortable in the pocket and repositioning the blocks when you need that. And we saw that last night. Him stepping up in the pocket and drilling passes through the course of that game was masterful.
Yeah, I think the thing that I saw from Washington as a whole is the trust from the coaching staff to him and the trust that everybody has in this kid. Like they believe in this kid 1,000%, and he feels it and goes out and executes to a level to your point, Greeny, that's unheard of, right? Like, and this is the part for me that's so frustrating because we get on these shows and debate like who should be the first pick in the draft. I'm just telling you this: you look at all the games all season, and then you look at how this kid has continued to play, and he's not in the conversation of the top 3. It shocks me. And look, I'm not a scout. I'm not pretending I am, right? Like these guys go watch a whole lot more football. But I'm just telling you right now, the games I have seen this kid play, that he's not in that conversation of the top, whichever quarterback's going to go first or where they're going to go. Hey, man, you're full, again, dude looked like really, really good in big moments. That matters.
I'm with you. And he isn't. So because I host the draft, I pay close attention to these things. Matt Miller, who is one of our NFL draft analysts and does an outstanding job. In his mock first round, he's got 4 quarterbacks going in the first 7 picks. None of them are Michael Penix. He, in fact, does not have Michael Penix Jr. being drafted in the first round.
So the mind-blowing thing is normally when a great college quarterback doesn't go high, it's because of the things that we saw Michael Penix doing well. It's because they don't do that well.
Yeah.
They're in an offense that makes it simple for them. They don't have the arm strength or the accuracy. They seem uncomfortable in the pocket when those are things you ask for the NFL. Like you look at the highlights of guys who had really great college careers but didn't go high in the draft. It's a lot of them running.
That's right.
And it's a lot of them throwing screen passes. It's a lot of them running simple schemes. He was out there running what looked to me like an NFL level offense against a very good or very talented, at least, opponent, and making those type of those passes. You can't scheme up a bullet like he was throwing. Like you cannot scheme up those lasers.
And when people talk about, like, I know Texas, they knew this was going to be a place they could attack Texas, right? Their defensive backs have not been good this season. It still required fantastic ball placement and accuracy. That's the part that I think you can't take away, is it's not just big plays. It's accurate throws at the moment. It's ball placement, which in the NFL separates good and great quarterbacks. It's not – because sometimes receivers just catch it and they go make a great play. There's other times when you see receivers go, hey, I want it right here or I want it right here, which is a 4 or 5 inch difference that makes all the difference in the world for the play being successful or failing.
Look, I as in my role as the host, I've told Hembo this. Like, I cannot bring myself to criticize any of these players or picks while it's happening. A, it isn't my job to do.
Yeah.
But B, like, this is their moment. I want to see all of them succeed.
Me too.
So I sort of feel badly saying this. But in this mock draft, he has J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback of Michigan, who we just watched last night, going 7th. And he has Michael Penix not going in the first round. Who among us watched these games last night and said the kid in the first game is better than the kid in the second game? Who said that?
I mean, I think that it would be unfair to just use one game to evaluate either of these players, but I've seen a lot of games from both of them, and I don't get it. So, again, the management in the pocket, all the NFL things that sometimes are difficult for players to make in that leap. Michael Penix did them last night in the highest profile game. Sure. So he'll get another chance, and I'd be surprised if what happened last night does not impact his draft stock.
For sure. Fellas.
Let me say this, too. Yeah. The other issue for him is the knees, right? So that would be the only – if that's the knock and they go, hey, that's why we have him where that will change, though, because, again, we know performance trumps any injury risk. This dude keeps throwing it. People will take a risk on the injury every day and all day.
I want to make sure that I'm not giving you anything that's wrong. He had 4 different seasons end because of injury. Right. 2 of them were knees. Yeah, he had 2 ACLs. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't getting that wrong. And as usual, I wasn't. Nick Saban got out-coached in a big football game last night, but that is exactly what happened. Let me make it clear how agonizing it is for me to say that. I love Saban. I love him. I admire the hell out of him. I think he is actually about, in a sport where no one is about all the right things, he's about more of them than almost anybody else is. I love his crankiness. I love the curmudgeon. I love everything about him. And I think he's as good a coach as I've ever seen in any sport. You put together the shortest list of the best coaches in any American sport that I've followed in my lifetime, and he is right near or at the top of that list. So for him to have a game of the magnitude of last night and his team to look as awful as they did shocks me, and I take zero pleasure in saying that. They should have lost that game by 50. They did everything you could do to lose a game and somehow had the lead late. Now, maybe that in and of itself is a testament to Saban's coaching, but I actually don't think it is. I think they had the lead despite themselves. I think they had the lead because Michigan made even more ridiculous mistakes. But candidly, that's exactly what I expect from them. It is not what I expect from Saban and Alabama. Hembo.
Yeah, I think that you have that right. Alabama did not lose that game yesterday, or in the first half of yesterday. Alabama lost that game in the month of December. It's not as if they had 1 week to prepare for this game like every other game. They had a month. And it's very hard for me to believe that in that month, they decided that the best way to game plan for that Michigan defense was to drop Jalen Milroe back to pass to such an extent that he was sacked 5 times in the first half. That is the reason that they lost that game, in my judgment, although I do think that this was probably, in totality, one of Nick Saban's best coaching jobs to even get them to that point. And there was a point in yesterday's game where if Michigan had not converted a 4th down, Alabama would still be playing today.
By the way, that call is not getting enough attention. We did 2 hours this morning, and I could not get people with me on this. Let me try and bring Bubba and Cam into this. 3.5 minutes, roughly 3:19 or something like that left on the clock. Ball on your own 33. 4th and 2. You have all 3 of your timeouts left in a 7-point game. And Harbaugh goes for it. And everyone on my set this morning on Get Up acted like that was the obvious and easy decision. I don't think it was. You don't pick up that 4th and 2, the game is over. The game might as well literally end right then. That kid on Alabama is kicking that field goal on 1st down if you want him to. All they need to do is take 3 knees and kick the field goal, and the game is over. You have a 10-point lead. Michigan will have no timeouts left. There'll be something like 2 minutes left. The game is over if you don't pick up that 4th down. If you punt to an offense that has done nothing against you all day long, and you use your timeout, you get one more shot. I was not at all convinced that was the right thing to do. In fact, if I'm Alabama, I think I'm kind of rooting for them to go for it because you can end the game right there with your defense on the field. Do we have something like the percentages on that? Like, do we know what the odds, the analytics say they should do?
Here's what I can tell you. At that exact juncture in the game, Alabama had an 85% chance to win. And ESPN Analytics said that it was an obvious go for it. Anything 4th and 10 or less, ESPN Analytics says Michigan maximized the chances of winning by going for it on that play. So it was the analytics play, but it was also a courageous play when you consider the way that we do things.
Someone needs to explain that to me because You're on your own side of the. Not only are you on your own side of the 50, the game is literally the way the other kicker is kicking. This game is over if you don't pick it up that one play. You've made the entire game this one play. Now, I get 4th and 2. You have a much better than 50-50 chance of making it. But you're now discounting all the other chances you have of still winning if you kick it away and call your timeouts. So, Bubba, what do you think?
I'm with you. I don't think it was that obvious by any means, and especially I think the biggest point is what you're saying. It's not as though it's going to be, a given that Alabama's just going to go down and score. Alabama's offense was not great, so there was a good chance that they could come back and stop them with their 3 timeouts and get the ball back. So yeah, I think I like the bold strategy, and I appreciate that, and I'm sure his players did, but I don't think it was a given by any means. Oh, it's obvious, analytics say go for it. I was somewhat surprised too.
Cam.
I think it was the right call. It was a risky call, but the one thing that Alabama had been doing, especially in the second half, was running it. So I think they were concerned that they weren't going to get the ball back. They punted it away, run it to Jason McClellan, a few first downs. The game's over anyway. They put the ball in their best player's hands. They throw an out route to Blake Corum. He gets 30 yards. So they trusted the 2 guys that had been making plays despite all the mistakes all day, rather than trying to give it to Alabama and giving them a chance to put it away if they didn't go for that shot, even though it could have gone the other way.
Yeah, I'll tell you why it makes sense, is because unlike Alabama on the last play of the game, Michigan had a play.
Yeah.
Michigan had a play all game, it seemed like, when you needed one. That was the big difference, it seemed to me, in the coaching. It was in like those high leverage moments. That was an easy conversion for them. They knew exactly where they were going to go, and they executed it. What they didn't do was run their quarterback into the butt of their center and end their season.
Well, that's it. And that's why I opened the show the way I did today, because people were like, wait a minute, you called the butt fumble on the left? That's almost what the play call looked like. like, get Mark Sanchez in here and have him run into Brandon Moore's behind. So we understand now, if you were with us at the beginning of the show, we had Jeff and Dominique explain what was supposed to happen on that play, but it does not remove the fact that it just looks as awful as it does. And so, again, I'm not saying Harbaugh did the wrong thing. What I'm saying is I don't think it is nearly as foregone a conclusion, as easy a decision as it was being made to seem.
Yeah, the numbers usually say going for it gives you a better chance to win. I will admit that in watching the game, it did not feel obvious to me in watching the game.
No way. It still felt like there was a lot of time left. Like, and maybe, look, 3:19 is 3:19. In some games, 3:19 feels like a long time, and in others, it feels like a short time. Maybe just my own feeling. College football, these endings take forever.
Yeah.
There are so many stoppages, so many things are going to happen. It did not feel to me like you needed to score on this drive or the game was over. Now, obviously, Harbaugh saw it differently. He's a great coach, and I'm not. He got it right, and I'm not here to say it was wrong either way, but I just didn't think it was an easy decision.